millennials, and I know how smart they are. So I recognize that you all are so smart. And don't be afraid, don't be shy. Just come out and do your thing, and the world belongs to you. Don't let anybody tell you you're too young. You're not. All right? So, it looks like Jamila is having problems coming in. Says she can't connect. She's been on it for a while. So tell me how the last 2 days have been. Can someone tell me how the last 2 days have been? Go into the chat box. Tell me. How have the last 2 days been? Tell me about the last 2 days. Please, please, please tell me. How have the last 2 days been? Did they meet your expectation? Did they, were they beyond your expectation? Or was it just so-so? Tell me. Tell me what impactful, worthwhile, beyond what I expected. I learned a lot. Very enlightening. Good. Mind-blowing. Worth it. Learn, unlearn, and relearn. Great. Resourceful. Know about leadership and value. Good. So those are just some of the comments in the chat box. And I want to say something to you. All the speakers who have been speaking to us have been speaking to us for free. We haven't paid anybody any money to speak to you.
An attacker.
But we leverage our goodwill to bring this to you twice a year because we care. And there's a popular Greek proverb that goes thus: a society goes great when old men, and of course women, plant trees in whose shade they know they shall never sit. I'm going to type it in the chat box, but I'll repeat it again. A society goes great when old men, and of course women, plant trees in whose shade they know they shall never sit. Yes, peace. I must quote it because I want you to continue to replicate what I do for you, do for others. That's the only way the society can get better. It's the only way. If we focus on ourselves, me, myself, and I, then society can never be better. Never. So from the little we give you, I want you to give more to others. And you're never too young and never too poor to do it. It's once there's a will, there's a way. Once you decide that you want to be there for others, the world will be a better place. I've received a lot of comments from really, really top executives. The head of Microsoft in Nigeria and Ghana, she told me, said, look, if more people do this, the country will be a better place. I've heard that from the VC of Pan-African University, but Pan-Atlantic University, from so many people. So I ask you, if that's one thing you're going to take away from this program, take away the fact that we need to be there for each other. Now, Omolola, you missed the last 2 days. Don't worry. You get the video recording. Not a problem. You're going to get the video recording of all the sessions. And guess what? I'm going to watch them again. Because each time we have this event, I learn something new, despite the fact that I've been working for 35 years. I learn something new. Ako, why are you laughing? I'm too old, right? You think I'm too old? Don't worry. We come with our own strengths. You come with yours. So I admit that you guys are smart, but we have experience though. All right? So it's two ways. You need to be smart. You need to be innovative. You need to do new things. But there's also something that you draw from the older generation. You can't buy experience. So we have something to offer. You have something to offer. It's when we come together that we can build a better world. Okay? So having said that, I don't know if we're ready to start. Nonso, are we ready to start?
Yes, we are. Thank you so much, IG. We appreciate it.
All right. So go ahead. I'm looking forward to an impactful session. And please connect with me on LinkedIn. Please do that. I'll be happy to link up with all of you.
Okay, thank you so much, IG. I'll just take the baton from you. Hi, everyone. Good morning. I'm here today with the lovely speakers and, of course, my lovely co-moderator, Ako. Ako, can you say hi to everyone?
Hi, everyone.
Hi, my name is
I
Chinonso
see,
Roberts. Yeah, go on.
and I'm Ako Okwasuko. I see we have Oraru around now with Becky as well. So we're about to start.
All right, thank you so much, Ako. And everyone, I hope you're excited to be here because me, I am. I actually have attended soft skills as well. I was on the 2018 edition of soft skills, but then it was a little bit smaller crowd. It was in Unilag at the time. And I would use the reference that says small yash they shake because back in the days, it was like 30 people, but now we have people from everywhere calling in Brazil, Ireland, literally everywhere. And everyone is literally, I mean, I was so surprised to see the numbers, to see the amount of people that were joining in. I sneaked in yesterday, through YouTube just to check how it was going. And I was really excited. I literally saw, it was just a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful sight to see. And I think, Ako, you attended what year of soft skills? What was that?
Yes, I attended the 5th edition. That was last year.
Oh, and how was
now
that
I'm
for
back
you?
for the 6th. It was amazing, very, very informative. So I think, like, for me, the most informative sessions were definitely Mrs. Ibukwa Abashika, Mfon Ekpo, and Mr. Sojia Pampat that we have here again this year. And even the session so far, like the ones we've had this 6th edition, have been so mind-blowing. And Professor Meta yesterday, there was a lot of unlearning and learning to do. So yeah, and then we had Soja Pampa back again, and then Elinor Moshe, and she has given us so many aha moments. So for people that haven't joined us from the onset, from the first day, Elinor Moshe gave us a reaction to when you learn something new. So when you learn something new, you type it in the chat box, aha, AHA. So I know that today we're going to have lots and lots of aha moments for everyone.
Thank you so much, Ako. I think Soja Pampa is actually a very returning guest. He actually was, he took us on integrity, I think. And I learned so much from him. I'm really excited to be here again. I'm going to say that again because I'm smiling. I would also use that claim and say, me too, small yash they shake, because I came here as as a student, as an attendee, of course. And look at me here. I'm here as a co-moderator. I'm quite excited. I'm just too happy to be here. Maybe that's why I'm smiling too much. Okay, guys. I would just quickly take it to our speakers. We have Becky George David and we have Aurora, I think. Oraru. Did I get that right? I always modern names.
Oraru Opo.
Okay, so I would just let Ako introduce them and then, so Ako, please hand over to you.
All right, so we have Oraru Obo. Oraru Obo is a data scientist, a product manager, and consultant at PwC UK. He is a curious, adaptable, entrepreneurial, and persistent in all parts of his life, professional and personal. He enjoys challenging problems professionally, where he can learn and develop the most. He is a technology consultant with 5+ years of experience, and he implements complex software solutions for global clients. He is also the digital accelerator at PwC UK, where he leads data analysis, automation, and data visualization. Before PwC, he obtained a first-class degree in mechanical engineering at Cardiff University, and he interned at Department of Petroleum Resources and Deloitte, Nigeria. In his personal life, Oraru enjoys reading widely, picking up new skill sets and tools. He enjoys finding exciting connections between fields. He lives in London. He supports Arsenal Football Club. He is an amateur runner, is a coffee and sci-fi novel buff. Very interesting profile there, Oraru.
Oh, thank you so much, Ako. Hi, Aurora, do you have anything to say to us? Beautiful profile.
Nothing, thanks, Ako.
All right, and I'm going to introduce Becky. So apparently, funny story, Becky was actually my senior in secondary school. So I'm excited to be introducing her personally because, Becky used to punish me back in the days. So I'm quite excited to be introducing Becky today. So I'm just going to keep it simple. Becky is actually very remarkable. Becky has actually an MBA from the Imperial College Business School in the UK in strategy, and has a BSc in computing from University of East London. She's currently the executive director of product in JP Morgan and Chase, with JP Morgan Chase and Co., which of course is very remarkable. She has over a decade of experience. And Becky is very passionate about the women development, I think people development in general, as she has basically driven the STEM ambassadorship program in Chase as well. Becky is doing a lot of remarkable things, and I'm excited to be actually here introducing her personally, because I also know her. And yes, Becky had told me to kneel down a couple of times. So yes, I'm happy to be introducing Becky. So guys, we're excited to be here introducing each and every one of you. Is everyone in the comment section, are you excited to be here? Can you just put up your hands, or you just make a gesture for us so we know you're excited to be here as well? You can put that in the chats. I'm like, yeah, thank you. That's beautiful. Thank you so much. Yes.
And also, so as speakers, we have participants from all around the world. We have 26 countries from 5 different continents registered. And we have young graduates, we have undergraduates. Today is our day. Young and ambitious, today is our day. So yes, we have very exciting people, participants ready to be here. So participants, you can just, put your flag of your country, what country you're from, what country you are, your location. So we know, where we all are from. I'm in Nigeria, I'm in Lagos, Nigeria.
And I'm in Dublin, Ireland, actually. And we're excited to be here again. We're really, really impressed to see the growth of soft skills. I would say that it has been a remarkable session. I have snipped in to listen to each and every session. I'm writing exams, so I'm just trying to hear one of those, but it's been amazing. I'm excited to be here. So maybe we would just say a couple of things, but before we even go into that, we would like to maybe just start on a very light note. I mean, I'm very, very interested to know, because Becky is actually a product manager and by profession, and I think Oru is actually a consultant in data science and as well product management.
Product manager.
Yes, exactly. And actually, I'm also a product manager as well, and I'm a business analyst. So I'm really, really excited because I want to learn from both of you. I'm here to learn, and I'm going to be asking all these questions. I want to learn. I want to know. I don't know if anybody wants to know as well. If you want to know, raise up your hand so we can know that you want to know. I want to know. Yes, perfect. So maybe we'll just start the session today. I don't know if Jamila has joined us.
Yes, I can Jamila have a few words?
Hello?
Please? Can Jamila say a couple of words, please, before we start? Jamila, over to you. Jamila, over to you. Jamila was here a few seconds ago. Yes, ma'am.
Hi. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Becky. Good morning, Oru. Of course, I have to greet our guests first. Nonso, I'll greet you last.
Good morning.
Well, IG, hi, good morning. Good morning, all our participants. Thank you for returning. I see that our numbers are running up. Our numbers are going up quite swiftly. And I'm sure there are lots and lots of more people that are joining. So please call on your friends, tell them, the show is about to start. And today we're for the young guys, just like Ako said, we're for all the undergrads, the graduates, young professionals, because we want you to hear it from the mouth of people that are doing it. They are doing it, and they are doing it really well. I mean, you can hear the profile of the two speakers today. So I can't wait to hear what they have to say also. I want to learn, just like IG. And I know that there's just so much to learn today. I have my notes, and I'm going to share some of my learnings at the end of the day. So Ako and Nonso, over to you, please. We're here to get our mind blown. So we're looking up to you guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jamila. It was nice to hear your voice again. Yes, It's really nice to hear your voice again. And maybe we'll just dive into the session now. I think the first thing that I would like to ask, so this is actually going to be a very interactive session, like a fireside chat. We just want to know a bit about Becky and Oru, let them tell us a bit about their experience, how they've risen to the top, because I know they've risen to the top. I mean, I want to learn so I can rise to the top. Just, hear a bit about their stories, and of course, get key points as to what we can do as Gen Zs and millennials, and how we can really integrate ourselves in the work environment and be the best as we can be. So I'm going to start with just a very simple question. I think it's a general question to the both speakers today, and I just want to ask, or just to know a brief about themselves and their career, maybe like in 2-3 minutes, like a quick summary about themselves and their career. It's really important, and what I'd like to really know, I'm really interested. So please, maybe Becky, you can start up the session, and then we can go to Orup. Thank you.
I was actually hoping you'd go the other way. Hi everyone. I'm Becky. Thanks for the fantastic introduction. So like Nonso said, me and him go way back. I am Nigerian. I was born and raised in Port Harcourt. So if you're from Port Harcourt or showing up here from Port Harcourt, then just, wave, say hi. But yeah, basically, I started off my career at the Royal Bank of Scotland. But I did attend secondary school in Port Harcourt, primary school in Port Harcourt, went to Brereton. If you know Brereton, went to Federal Government Girls College at Paloma, Nigerian Navy, Upper Deck, you name it. I was there. Don't ask me why I went to so many secondary school. My dad was trying to get me to become a doctor. Clearly, I'm a product manager. And I don't think that was the career path that was intended for me. So similar to most of you on the call, my parents had science goals for me, right? So everyone had a career plan in mind. There was an engineer in the family. I was the doctor. There was a lawyer in the family. The popular career trends. Most of us didn't go down that route. I came into the UK, studied computing for my BSc, worked as a software engineer. So if you're also a software engineer, I've done a bit of software engineering. So spent about 4.5 years to 5 years as a software engineer. But at the core of it today, I lead product for SME business banking partnerships at JP Morgan Chase. We've just launched a digital bank called Chase here in the UK. Chase is, I think, one of the top banks, if not the top bank for retail customers in the US. And now we've got a whole new ambition to expand the bank globally in a digital way. So that's what I look after on a day-to-day basis. You will most often than not find me talking about, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Obviously, being Nigerian, being Black, working in a predominantly white space has been quite interesting within my career. But also being a female as well has been challenging. And then being Nigerian has its own quirks and perks too. So I've learned a few tricks along the way. I am an executive director at JP Morgan. So for those of you who don't fully understand what that might mean, you come in as a graduate, you come in at an analyst level, then you work your way to an associate, then you work your way to a senior associate, then you work your way to a vice president, then you have your in-betweens, then you have your executive directors, and then you have your managing directors. So when you become an MD, like the typical Nigerians who say you become Oga Pata Pata, you're at the top, right? That's the sort of like the peak of your career in most of these companies. So I'm an executive director, but for all intents and purposes, just a millennial, not quite Gen Z, but I'm a millennial, so I can fully identify with some of the issues and challenges that we would be covering on the call today.
Thank you so much, Becky. That was a beautiful, beautiful summary. And Oru, can you just take ahead and tell us a bit about yourself?
Definitely. Thanks for the warm welcome. Thanks everyone for joining. I'm happy to be here. I'm quite honored to be here actually. A brief intro about myself. I'm Oru, so I grew up in Warri. I lived in Warri pretty much my entire life until I moved to the UK about 10 years ago for university. So I went to primary school, secondary school in Warri, did a bit of secondary school in Ogun State in Nigeria, then A-levels in Lagos, then moved to the UK for university to study mechanical engineering. You can see there were people in the chat, nice. So at university, I studied mechanical engineering. So my intention going into university was to be a mechanical engineer. But as Echo said in my bio, I'm quite curious. So I've always had a streak of trying out different things. So I interned as an engineer. I interned in tax in Deloitte, which was quite unusual. I interned before I started uni. So I've always tried, I interned in a civil engineering outfit actually, before uni for about a year. Always tried to figure out exactly what I wanted to do in my career. I didn't want to just go down this route of that had been predicted since I was in like primary school. When they ask you, what do you want to be in future? Then you say engineer, then 20 years later, you're an engineer. Trying to try out as much things as possible. I joined PwC after university, again, out of curiosity, trying to move into something else instead of just going straight into engineering. So I joined focusing on risk. So risk analytics, risk management, controls in technology companies. And I worked there for a bit. Then again, I had an itch to try something else. So I moved into consulting, where I was working primarily as a data scientist, as a project manager, and I'm currently transitioning into product management full-time within PwC. All in all, I'm a millennial, so I'm very much aware of most things that people are going through. I also have Gen Z brothers, cousins, nephews, and nieces. So as well, I'm quite conversant in what's happening in that space. I'm passionate about mentoring. So since I joined PwC, I think after my first year, and I was still finding my feet. After that, I just took up mentoring as something that I thought would be useful. Again, as Becky said, being Black and Nigerian in a predominantly white space, you find out things as you're working, and what's the best thing to do than pass it on to someone who's going to come into that same scenario a few years later. So I try to tell people in university or secondary school what I wish I was told. So always try to pass it on. And I quite enjoy that. So I'm looking forward to the session and looking forward to all the questions.
Thank you very much, Oro.
Yeah, you can go ahead, Akko, it's fine.
So Becky, you mentioned being young, being female, and being Nigerian, as well as Oro. You mentioned all of that. You mentioned these challenges you face. So what other challenges do you face right now, and how do you go about them? Becky, please.
Yes, so there's so many challenges, I guess. But since we're talking about careers and soft skills, I would say some of the challenges that I face, or some of the challenges that I know most people face at the workplace, is just general, like branding. It's who are you within the office, and how do you balance who you are at work with who you are on the outside? Are those two people the same? But most importantly, do people actually perceive you to be what you think you are? When I first started off my career, someone said to me, Becky, I had this Ghanaian friend, and he said, Becky, perception is reality. And I went, what do you mean perception is reality? I didn't quite get it at the time. At the time, I was about 22, 23. And I was just like, perception is reality. That's just so lame, you know? But as I've progressed in my career, I've realized it to be true. How people perceive you in the office directly reflects and impacts the opportunities that you will get. How people perceive you in school, how people perceive you in your classrooms directly impacts how they relate with you. If there were new opportunities, if people were given the opportunity to pick a course mate. So for instance, you have a group work and they say, everyone go pick your group partner. Are you the last one standing? Do people come forward to reach out to you and basically say, hey, I want to work with you? That's all down to the perception that they have of you, perception about your skill sets, perception about who you are, your core values, and what you eschew, and perceptions generally about the quality of work that you deliver. So for me in the workplace, it's really an uphill task to manage the perception that people have of me and the perception that people have of my brand. That's not something I've always been very conscious of in my career, but it's definitely something that I'm a lot more conscious of as I sort of like go through the whole career maze and try to figure out how I get to the top, right? So for me, I think that's the major challenge. And I think that's applicable whether you're at university, whether you've just graduated and you're looking for a job, or whether you've got a job already and you're trying to make your way and through the whole maze to the top. So I would say that has been the most challenging thing for me. I know it's not quite fixed to being female, right? A man would equally experience the same challenge as well. it all comes down to your brand and who you are. So I would say that's the topmost challenge. I could obviously have named things like communication skills or the ability to influence or some other skills, but it all comes under the package of who you are and how you brand what you are and how other people that you work with perceive that and what opportunities arise as a result of it.
Thank you, Becky. Over to you, Oru.
Thank you. So I think that's an interesting question. What I find the most challenging. If it's what I find most challenging now, it's very different to what I found the most challenging when I started. So I'll give two answers. So when I first started, I think my biggest challenge was cultural. So being confident in your ideas and being confident in putting forth ideas. So when you join a company, typically, you're quite young, and most times I felt quite shy giving up ideas and providing ideas in a room filled of experienced executives. People have 15, 20 plus years of experience. But in reality, those people are looking to you to bring fresh ideas. And that was something I had to learn after the first couple of years in my career, that if you're in a room to speak. The reason why you're brought into a meeting is not to just sit there mute and listen to people you think are wiser than you. And the worst thing that can happen is you put forward a bad idea. Everyone has bad ideas. But if you don't put any bad ideas forward, you wouldn't put any good ideas forward, and you're static. And the workplace, that is one thing you can't be. You can't be static because what's the point of working if you're going to be at the exact same level for 20, 25 years, right? You have to put up ideas, you have to take risks to actually get reward. What I find most challenging now ties very closely to what Becky said about perception and being able to speak about what you do. So I think this may be a Black thing, a Nigerian thing, or an immigrant thing, but it's very easy to be quote unquote humble. Please do not be humble in the workplace. It doesn't help you, it doesn't help anyone. And quite frankly, I've been told off for being humble. Like, if your team does something amazing, shout it out, bring out the drums and talk about what you've done, as opposed to just saying, oh, we've done a great thing, and like whisper it in some tiny corner. Because that is actually how things get bubbled up in being in a large organization or in a company, in any form or an organization. You have to be able to drum up what you've done and speak about it boldly. So really stand behind your work, stand behind yourself. I think that is new to me, to be able to like put forward not just myself or my team, and put forward what you've done boldly and confidently. Obviously, you're not the best genius in the world. You're not like Einstein. So you may feel like, why am I talking about what I've done? Like, it's not that important, but you really should. You really should. If not, no one would know.
Yeah, but just piggybacking off of what Uru has said. I'm sure you all know the saying that empty vessels make the most noise. So, being Nigerian, we associate, I found it to be cultural, right? We associate talking about what you do with just being this person that walks around the room and you don't do much. There's not a lot of gravitas behind you, and there's not a lot of content behind you. You just like to go around and yap, and just be on social media talking about things that you have absolutely no clue talking about, right? You're the first one standing by, maybe not coffee machines, but if you are in other part of the world where you have coffee machines in your office, you're the one there, you're the one standing by the water cooler, you're the one that's coming in through the gates, you're the one that's always just, talking. I don't think that's what either Ura and I are talking about. We're talking about people who really deliver good work, and not perfect work. If you're a perfectionist, then your expectations are right up here, so nothing is ever good enough for you. But those people who deliver good work, good content, but you're just a lot more bold to talk about what you do. And I think boldness comes with time. And sometimes boldness comes with title, Because I know for certain when I was a graduate, I would not even be on this call. I wouldn't be one of the people on Zoom with my video on. I'll be sat in the background, video off, eating plantain chips, just doing the most random things in the background, And if you said, Becky, what's your opinion? What do you think about XYZ? I'll be like, oh Lord, my goodness, if I must speak, what do I say now? And I'd say the most basic of things. But that was because I didn't feel like I had the title behind me to speak up. Things have changed now, so you don't really need a title behind you. Every opinion is valid, every opinion is accepted, but that's not always the case. So sometimes you need a little bit of power behind you to get what you're saying to actually make a difference and to be able to influence a room. But if you are confident enough, if you are bold enough and you put yourself out there and you genuinely care about the work that you deliver and the value that you bring to the table, someone somewhere in the room is definitely listening to you, right? And they may not agree with you, they may not implement your solution, but goes back to building your brand and what people think about you.
Wow. Thank you so much, Becky. I've learned so, wow. Oh, thank you. I'm writing my notes down. Boldness and being able to scream out your achievements and being able to carry your achievements on your chest and say, yes, I did that. I'm not going to shy away from that. I actually achieved that. I'm learning something today. I hope everyone is learning something in the comment section. Can you just put a comment if you're learning something? If you have anything you just picked up, can you put that in down? Amazing. I think so. I think my question is going for transition. And, I'm hearing everyone talk about how, they had, gone into their career. I think for Becky wanted to be a doctor, or well, her parents wanted her to be a doctor, but look at her now. And Oru, a mechanical engineer, and look at you in product management, in consulting. So, I mean, these are things that I'm quite data scientist as well. I'm quite excited to hear, and I actually want to know how that process of transition was for you. How did you get there? I mean, people struggle every day. Some people study fishery in some universities back in Nigeria, and they're like, I've studied fishery. What am I going to do? Maybe I'll open an Instagram page and sell bags. But maybe you can't. Maybe when you tell them that you can actually do much more than you think, I'm sure maybe they'll listen to you. But maybe you can give us some more insight on how that transition worked for you. Maybe Oru, you can go first, and then we can head on to Becky.
Yeah, sure. So transitioning has been interesting. So my first transition was from mechanical engineering to PwC. That was kind of like a stroke of luck, right? I just applied because I worked at Deloitte, so I kind of knew of the big four accounting firms. And I was just applying. I was applying mostly to engineering firms. I was like, okay, actually, you know what? This seems interesting. This role, particularly in PwC, is interesting. So I applied, went for the interview. In hindsight, I probably said a lot of nonsense, but for some reason, I came across well, and the director took a chance on me and said, okay, you know what? I think this person I want to go with. Had a good conversation. The interview went well. I joined PwC. Transitioning within PwC, I think is what I can speak more to. And there's been two aspects to it. One is building relationships. So if I want to transition to a certain part of the firm, let's say, example, I started working up in risk, I want to transition to consulting. I started speaking to people who are working in consulting. So what do you do? Who can I speak to? And not just people on my level, people on the level that are going to be hiring. So I started speaking to directors. So what do you do in consulting? How can I move? What skills do I need? And that was easier to transition because risk and consulting were kind of alike. For data science and product management, that I had to learn a lot by myself. So for data science, I decided, you know what? Everyone's talking about machine learning. I want to go and learn it. How hard can this be? Well, this turned out to be quite hard, but still learnable. So I spent some time just learning it, soaking up the information. After a while, again, is that imposter syndrome? I was like, do I know enough to actually do this for a real client in real life? Or is this just good enough for some easy tests that people put online? So I had, again, a conversation with a manager. I'm like, okay, I'm thinking of doing some data science work, because if I'm doing some data science work, and there's someone above me that can review my work and guide me, I felt that that's a good way to like soft land into the field. And it turned out that, well, what I learned was quite good and I was quite competent at data science. I ended up doing a bit of data science work in consulting. And product management has happened pretty much the exact same way. So product management, again, I had conversations with people who were in the product management team. What they seemed to be doing was interesting, and I had started a few startups on the side. And as the CEO of the few startups, product management is kind of similar. So I kind of like understood exactly what it entailed. I could relate to the trade-offs they had to make and how they had to structure their time, how to structure the product. So again, it came quite easily, but I had previous experience. So it wasn't a case of, I just woke up one day and said, oh, product management seemed interesting. Hey, let me be a product manager. I'd done other bits of work beforehand to be able to structure a case, have an interview, and really showcase that, okay, I can take on a few products and actually lead and drive them to successful outcomes.
Oh, wow, that's very insightful. Thank you very much, Oro. So you mentioned that you had a lot of, you spoke to a couple of people, so you didn't do it by your own, you didn't do it yourself alone, you had some sort of support. So what do you think is the role of mentorship in career management? Is it important? And if it is important, do you think your mentor or your support system has to be in the same field with you?
That's a good question, Afro. So is on the one hand, yes, mentors are extremely important. They don't have to be in the same field. In fact, personally, I don't like my mentors to be in the same department. I prefer a mentor who's somewhere separate, who can be objective about what I'm doing and talk to me about what I'm doing right or wrong. Apart from that, it wasn't about mentorship that made me transition. I literally just went on the internal system and looked for people who worked in that department. And I just sent them a cold message. I think I sent about 5 people, 3 ignored me. I was like, who is this guy? But the 2 I had conversations with, they were really enlightening conversations because it let me know what I had that was valuable and where I needed to work on to get to a level that I should be able to transition quite easily. So again, it's pushing yourself out there. And like, if it was me, maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, I would have been like, I'm not going to send someone a random message. That just seems awkward and weird. But after a while, you have to do it. Otherwise, what's the alternative? You go cold into the interview and you make a fool out of yourself. I'd rather have that conversation with someone and prepare myself.
Thank you so much, Oro. So Becky, can you tell us about your transitioning? Tell us a bit about how you transitioned. I mean, I know you had the mindset to be a doctor and then you moved to computing. So can you tell us a bit about that and how you found your way into being a product manager? Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess the first thing I'd like to say is it's hard, right? And if you feel like it's tough, you're probably right. Okay, so that's just the first thing there. I don't think any of us, myself or Oru or either one of you, if you're in that position where you're trying to figure out what do I want to do with my life, I think it's a question we get asked all the time. And I read this book. I don't know if you've read the Michelle Obama book. And one of the key things that I picked out of that book is you don't have to be one thing for the rest of your life. As parents, like when you're growing up, everyone says, oh, Becky, what do you want to be when you grow up? Almost as though there's just that one thing you can be. The reality is you could be multiple things at different points in your life. So I think that's really, really critical as we explore the whole idea of transitioning in your career and managing that progress. So I just wanted to put that out there because everyone's in a different space right now. But that's one thing that certainly resonates. So for me, coming from a home where my parents wanted me to be a doctor, I remember when I Okay, a bit of backstory to me, right? When I was in secondary school, Nigerian parents are like, well, you need to be first in class. I was first in my class in primary 1, in primary 2, primary 3, and I'd come home with my reports. And the entire time, I'm always like top 10. I never quite became first in class, but my dad was like, no, but you're going to be a doctor anyway. And I remember writing JAM the first year. I knew I didn't want to study in Nigeria. And I was trying to convince my dad to let me go to like the UK and go study. He was like, no, everybody must study here. Must all go to school where I can see you, I was like, okay, no problem. So I wrote JAM the first time. And when I got to, I think it's post UME, I can't remember what it's called, where you go to the university to write the actual entrance.
Post UME, yes, that's correct. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I still remember. And I got there and it was barely about 10, 15 minutes into the exam. And this lady just asked me to get up and get out. And she was like, you said something. I was like, no, I actually didn't say anything. And my mom was waiting for me. This was in Uniben. Uniben was one of the best schools for medicine. And that was it. That was how I knew I was going to be at home for at least 1 year, And we had to do the whole drive back to Port Harcourt. And my mom was looking at me like, when your father finds out, it's going to be a hot night. I was in the car contemplating my life, thinking, I'm meant to do medicine, yada, yada, yada. The next year came. And when it was time to fill out JAM form again, I had a year to think about my life. And my mom was like, put medicine. I was like, no, I'm not putting medicine. She dragged me all the way to my dad's office. And she said, look at your daughter. Your daughter has decided she wants to be useless in her life. Medicine is no longer what she wants to do. And for the first time in my life, I literally told my mom, I said, if you want to become a doctor, why don't you go to school? Huh? I didn't eat for 1 week. Maybe that's why I'm so skinny. That was where I started getting my training from. And that was the first time I transitioned into a different field. And guess what I chose? I didn't choose anything that I had passion for. I was like, I'm going to study geology. I'm going to look at rocks and stuff. It seems shorter, looks easier. People seem to be having a good life, partying up and down, gives me time to be free. And that was my priority at the time. And that was my mindset at the time. So I was just telling you the story to tell you that transitions can come in different forms. But now moving on to how I transitioned into a product manager. So I came to the UK. I studied computing at university. Similar to Oru, I did an internship. So in my first year, I think I'd watched way too many Grey's Anatomy, One Tree Hill, all these American TV shows. And I knew the concept of internships. But I, as a Nigerian person, steady hustler, you're like, how can I make money? How can I make money in this life? So I thought, okay, cool, go and apply to an internship. And then I got into the Royal Bank of Scotland as an engineer, and I did that for a bit. But whilst being an engineer, I realized that, I don't know if there's software engineers here, software developers, like you people call them programmers, computer people, or what do you call them? Tech bros, basically. I think that's what you call them in Nigeria. And I realized that whilst I had the passion for tech, I just simply couldn't compete with the people who woke up in the morning and they just think about code all the time. And for me, I was great. I've been a software developer. I did it for so long. I got promoted doing it, and that was perfect. But I knew I wanted to be more. I knew I wanted to think about the business. I didn't quite enjoy the idea of people telling me what to do. Someone comes in and they say, can you build X, Y, Z? I'm like, wait, hold on. Who are you to be telling me what to build? I have an idea of what we should be building. So how about we build it this way? But that wasn't the way it worked at the time. So I figured I needed to basically step out of software engineering. And it was such a difficult decision for me to make. And I remember when I made the decision to step into a release engineering role, which, just to summarize what that is basically optimize how we get code out into production. So say if it takes 20 days to get your mobile app update, how can I get that down to 1 day? What are all the processes involved in getting that mobile app out there, and how do we reduce the time? Also, how do we make software engineering more delightful, take away all the nitty-gritties and all the non-essential tasks and optimize for it. And basically, I decided to move into that role in mobile banking. And it took me a while to find the perfect role for me. So whilst I knew I had to transition, it wasn't something that happened within a day. It was something that took a year or 2 years. It took the entire time whilst I was working in software engineering to learn, unlearn, research the market, speak to people about the various roles that they did, to then go, hey, I've seen this job. I can see the title is different, but the content of the role appeals to me. Because the content of the role appeals to me, I don't know what this career might look like, but I'm happy to go ahead and do it. So I did that for a bit. And then I moved on to heading the team for that. So heading that at Chase UK. And then last year, I came to a point where I had delivered for Chase. We had launched the bank, life was good and well. And I was thinking about what next for me. Product was something I had in mind, but because I had so delivered quite well in my role as the head of release engineering and change, the opportunities came to me, right? So different people were coming up to me to say, hey, Becky, I've got this role on my team. Would you be interested? And it goes back to what I mentioned earlier about the perception people have of you and of the work that you deliver. So I didn't have to do as much hunting, but I was being presented with opportunities. Hey, Becky, why don't you think about this? Why don't you think about that? And of course, similar to the question you asked, Akko, I had to speak to my mentors. I had to speak to people that I trusted. I had to speak to people who had, way more experience than me, who could say, hey, Becky, I think this is a fantastic opportunity for you, therefore go for it. Or have you considered X, Y, Z? Or do you think your skill sets are more suitable for yada, yada, yada? And help me understand how that compared to what I wanted to achieve in the longer term, right? So it's not just the for now decision. It's like, does this transition set me up for where I want to be? Sometimes the transitions were a bit of a lateral move in that I wasn't making more money than I was in the other role. I was simply just moving sideways. And then some of the transition into product has been into a completely new vertical and a completely new space. And even though I'm a lead, I would say I'm not the brightest in the room in terms of product because I am new to it. But all the skill sets, we're going to talk about transferable skills in a bit, that I had accumulated throughout the years as a software engineer, the head of release and change, comes in super duper handy in building a product team and building great and delightful products for our customers. So that's my transition journey, and that's how I went about it. So very similar to the people that you meet along the way, the skill sets that you gather along the way, and then your own personal sweat equity in terms of the time and the efforts that you put into figuring out what you want to do in the long term, what you want to do now, and what the middle ground might be, bearing in mind that things could change.
I just want to add something, just to piggyback what Becky said. I think there's a really crucial bit there about being great at what you're doing right now, and that showing up for you when you want to transition. I think is a really underrated skill. A lot of people may say, oh, I want to transition. Then you completely abdicate your duties and what you're doing right now, and your work suffers because you're trying to transition. Doing really great work at what you're doing right now makes it easier to transition to a different field. Like, for example, or rather, like, an easy way to think about this, if you see like a recruitment advertisement, someone may prefer someone who is a really great geologist to come and be a software engineer than someone who is a terrible software engineer to come and be a software engineer. And that's where transferable skills really comes in. Being great at what you do right now makes it far easier to transition to something else, even if it's a completely different field, because people can see the spirit of excellence or the ability to be excellent in a field. And those thoroughness, being really attention to detail, being really attentive, being really, just excellent in your work makes it easier for people to say, actually, I want this person on my team to take on a completely different role or a different industry. So yeah, I just want to add that.
Thank you so much, Oru. So please, I see in the comment section, everybody's saying, Becky shouted for her mother. She did not shout for her mom. Oh. She's not asking you to shout for your mom. Oh. But she's literally just saying you should be able to communicate things to your parents with respect to things that you want to do. Because you don't want to end up at 40 or 50 and regretting that you made a decision that you could have, changed or maybe talked to your parents about. I think that's what she's trying to.
So just to throw some more light on that, because I fully understand the comment sessions go wow, So I think there's this whole notion that we are always like, fully aware of everything. We're fully aware of the consequences. I mean, we can all sit down in the comment section and say, oh, don't shout at your mom. Like, that's completely fine, but everyone has their moments, right? So firstly, I was 16. Secondly, it was a high pressure situation, okay? And because of that, like, yes, tensions flare up for a bit, So saying to your mom, oh, why don't you go and study medicine is probably not the best response. It's not what I'd tell her today. Today I'd speak to her a lot more differently, and she would speak to me a lot more differently because she understands that I also understand the gravity of the decisions that I make. So there's that trust there. So don't be disrespectful to your parents at all, but also understand that we all make mistakes. So that was me however many years ago as a teenager. And we know better now. So
okay, I think there's a question that is in the session that I want to talk about. I think someone said he wants to transition into tech, and he studied environmental conservation. So I did my first degree in environmental technology, and I have transitioned into tech. And I generally feel like there are various forms of tech. You don't have to be a software developer. You could be a business analyst. You could be a data scientist. You could be whatever you want to be. The idea is actually researching and knowing where your skills are. Like Becky said, it's transferable skills. There are a lot of skills that are very transferable in the tech environment. You don't actually have to code. It's not always about coding. So yes, the answer is yes, you can actually transfer or transition to literally any space. You just need to look at it and see if those skills that you have can actually do well for you in the new space that you want to move into. So Akor, over to you.
All right, so we're speaking a lot about transferable skills. And so these are technical skills, yeah? But then we have soft skills. And aside your technical skills, your soft skills have a place. So do you think soft skills have helped you so far? At what point did a particular skill make way for you when your technical skill couldn't make way for you? I think, Oru, you can answer that.
Okay, thank you, Akor. That's a really great question. So when did my soft skill override my technical skill? So when did my soft skill make a difference that my technical skill couldn't make? I think a good example, again, so taking a step back, working in consulting, a lot of consulting is talking to people and dealing with clients. So apart from the data science or managing a project to the completion, you have to be able to deal with clients. And what is interesting, what I had to learn to be a consultant is things like building trust, building rapport with people, so being able to communicate to people. And it's a double-edged sword, right? If you have someone who is also Nigerian, who also likes Arsenal, who's from Warri, it's very easy to build trust. It's like we went to the same places and all of that. When somebody who is completely different to you, someone who likes cricket, doesn't watch football at all, and is from Norway, so how do you build trust with someone like that? And that is where soft skills really comes to the fore. Because if you rely on just your technical skills and say, oh, I'm really competent, you may end up having a client who is closed off. Like, okay, you have competence, you are good, but they're not going to take it to that next level in terms of having a deep relationship and being able to really understand what their problems are, what their pain points are. So things that help, and I don't want to go into an entire lecture on things that consultants use to be able to build confidence and build trust. But it's just remembering that everyone is a person and people have human issues in general that everyone can relate to. And being able to take everything a step lower, right? There's work and there's personal. And there's something in between where you can take things from just transactional business. Oh, once it's done, once it's 5 p.m., I'm clocking off, or 6 p.m., I'm clocking off, or I'm never speaking again. And I don't want to know about your personal life. I don't want to know about what you did on holiday. In fact, I don't remember that you said you were going on holiday last weekend, or you're getting married. I don't want to know all of that stuff. And being able to take things a bit more personal, but not overshare. So there's something in between. And managing that has helped a lot in those kind of situations. I can give specific examples of where that helped in building trust with the client, building trust with someone you are trying to sell a piece of work to, someone you're already delivering a project on, and your team is feeling like, okay, this team at the moment, we need something else to bring cohesion. And maybe a simple, oh, let's all go out for dinner. And after that dinner, you can see a marked change in how everyone relates to each other when they come back to the office. Or if you are working remotely, you may organize like remote games or something. But I think in the working environment, it's easy to either take things too personal, and that's where things get a bit murky. You don't want to overshare. And it's also very easy to make things very transactional. And if it's too transactional, you actually wouldn't get really good team dynamics and people wouldn't feel bought into the project. That is something that you should think about in your communication with people. It's business, but it's still business with people. We're not working with robots yet, even though Elon Musk wants us to eventually. But yeah.
Marco, I think you're muted. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Oro. So you're first a human before you're a product manager. You're first human before you're anything else. So Becky, could you throw some light on that as well?
Yeah, so Oro has covered the key bit, building trust. But for me, I think being vulnerable, it's something I'm starting to appreciate a lot more of. So when you work in an engineering space or when you work in tech, as a software engineer as well, when I started off my career, it's all about the work. It's either the code is working or the code is not working. And then it's either people are finding bugs and they're rating you down on the App Store, or the App Store ratings are going up. In my case, I worked with traders, so investment banking traders, and I'd go down to the floor, to the trading floor. You know, if you've watched Wolf of Wall Street, that type of scenario, that's what I did for like 5 years. And you go down and there's just this mad person that's just like, you didn't do this, because of you, I've lost $1 million. You can look at it, you consider this, you consider that. And you're like, whoa, all I did was come to work this morning, but all right, let me go and try and fix this code. Now that's the technical skill, right? Is you can either write code that works and delivers value to the business, or you can't. That's technical, full stop. Everything else outside of that came down to my ability to be vulnerable. So I put down vulnerability as a soft skill. It's how much of yourself can you bear in the workplace, right? Hey, I'm not very good at doing test-driven development, which is something that's technical. I want to learn a bit more of that. Or can you help me understand how to better manage flare-ups when the traders are really upset and I go to speak to a trader and they're shouting at me? Do I just stand there and cry, or do I learn to work around them and their anger and get to a solution and get to a resolution? Can I find that common ground? Can I find that thing that we both aren't really enjoying? And can I make that work? So being vulnerable enough to let people know what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, right? And then managing that. Vulnerability helps to build trust, which is what Oro talked about earlier. When you think about the people who are the closest to you in your personal life, you realize they're the people that you share the most vulnerable parts of you with. right? Sometimes they say women bond based on their ability to discuss and gossip. I don't necessarily subscribe to that. All we're doing is being vulnerable to one another, right? There's no airs, whereas like generally speaking, men may not be able to bond as much because you're not vulnerable, you're not going and sharing all your problems. But when you're vulnerable enough, then you're able to create trust. When you're able to create trust with the people that you work with, they are more likely to help you when you have technical issues, right? You don't help someone who you don't trust, and you don't work with someone who you don't trust. It's simply like human life. The next one is people skills, right? Your ability to understand where people are and also be empathetic as well. If you expect empathy, if you show up to the office 10 minutes late, and you expect people to be understanding when it's you, but when it's someone else who shows up 10 minutes late, you round your chest, as if you're doing the one challenge dance or whatever, and you're very upset, very angry. You're just simply not understanding or putting yourself into other people's position. But the ability to be empathetic in the workplace is starting to rank a lot higher than the traditional stoic type people who show no emotions, who don't care about you. Nobody wants to work in those sort of workplaces anymore. We've seen the Twitter threads on a few of the tech startups and how they treat their companies, their employees. And we realize that people no longer want to work in such volatile environment. People want to come into the workplace and they want to feel valued. They want to feel cared for. If something happened in their lives, they want you as the manager to care about them. And that is applicable across like your peer groups, even at work. So it's not just the leader, manager versus employee type thing. Finally, the ability to communicate. So after all is said and done, how are you communicating in your workplace? Communications could be written skills. Nigerians are very good at writing. I don't know if it's all the coursework from university or if it's all the Twitter threads we go to fight on or the Insta blog chat comment section. I don't know what it is, but we're quite good at communicating in like when it's written. Verbal communication and non-verbal communication. So things that we perhaps need to work a bit more on. How do you deliver tough messages in a way that is simple? How do you deliver and handle tough conversations in a way where you're working towards progress rather than bringing the other person down? All of those skills are super essential, right? Because at the end of the day, you get promoted not just for your technical skills. At the lower level, when you're coming into an organization, work on your technical skills, be bloody good at what you do at the lower level. But once you start thinking about going to the next level, start to think more about how you pile on the soft skills that I've talked about, right? Because nothing differentiates you from Olu that is also doing the accounting and doing, all the stuff on QuickBook. What differentiates you from Olu is your ability to build a relationship with your manager, your ability to build a relationship with your client, your ability to show up and understand what needs to be done, get people to work together, all of that stuff. Nobody pays you as a senior leader to do the technical work. You think about it, who in your company, even the CEO of First Bank, right? Or the CEO of GTB Bank, how many of them can even remember how to do discounted cash flow modeling? They probably don't know. And guess what? They're not being paid to know that. They're paid to be able to bring the right people together with the right technical skill set to do it. And they rely a lot more on their soft skills, their ability to influence, their ability to negotiate, their ability to build trust with customers, their ability to be seen in a particular type of way. So therefore, for me, the critical skills, soft skills, I would say the ability to be vulnerable. So once again, goes back to being human, vulnerability, empathy, the ability to build people relationships and strong people relationships. And then finally, the ability to communicate.
Wow. Thank you so much, Becky. That was very powerful. Thank you so much, Oro. That was actually very, very powerful. I learned so much. I'm guessing everyone, the comment section is going wild. Speaking of discounted cash flow, Becky, I have an exam on Monday. I will come and meet you so you can teach me some things about discounted cash flow. But yes, I'm so excited. I think the comment section is going wild. And I think I'm heading to this question because as a Gen Z, and I'm guessing we have so many young millennials and Gen Zs in the comment section chatting away. We like to party. I know all of us want to go to Maldives, we want to dance in Maldives. But the question is, how do you balance that? How do you balance, being that number one person at work or number two person at work and, going to Maldives, being on a yacht? How do you balance that? I want to know. I actually want to know. So tell me. So maybe Becky, you can go for this. Yeah, and then tell us a bit.
So Nonso follows me on Instagram. That's why he's basically asking me this question. If you know me, which hopefully you know a bit more about me now, I like to have a good time. When I first started off my career, I literally was heads down. I was all about like the work. In secondary school, like I said, I was all about school and all about books and all about yada, 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 getting the tough stuff done. But you know what? Soft life, right? 2022 is what we're doing. You work so hard, in your day job, you work so hard in your coursework, your uni. This is for the people that work hard, by the way. This is for the people that work hard, not the people that don't work hard. You just want to party. Because at the end of the day, when we're 40 and 50 and some other people start partying, you start working. You don't want it to be that way. So I like to have a good time. And how I balance that is when I'm at work, right? So when it's time to do work, those hours of, people say to me, you can call me in the morning, I'm working at like 8 a.m. and I go to bed at like 12 and I've been working the whole day, but nobody sees that, right? Typically, I'm working all the way to midnight. Nobody sees that I'm just doing work because I enjoy what I do. Then when it's Friday evening and I've logged off to Sunday, and then I'm posting on Instagram, I'm out and about. Some people will be following me to be out and about. Meanwhile, I've been doing the grinding and all the hard work, building my relationships and delivering value for my business. But you don't see that because I don't show it to you. So what I'm saying is, I do work when it's work. I do work on the weekends. I'm actually traveling to New York for work tomorrow morning. I've got an 8 a.m. flight for work. I'm going to be in New York and I'm going to be out and about in the evenings, right? But in the daytime, I'll be visiting clients. I'll be speaking with my team. I'll be having technical decisions, architectural discussions, all of this stuff, because that's work. But me, the Bible says, my summary of the Bible is just live your life. God has died for you, so you can't come and kill yourself, right? So find that time to balance your personal interest. It doesn't have to be partying, it doesn't have to be every day going to Owambe every Saturday. I'm sure some of you are looking at the time, you've got party to go to, you got Owambe, one wedding or the other, Ashrebi. It doesn't have to be that. It could be as simple as getting your head into a book. It could be as simple as, hey, I actually want to upskill myself. And that's what I define as fun for me outside of work. It could be about watching YouTube videos on how to do X or how to do Y. But ultimately, when you make out time to deliver work and you actually deliver work, then find that time to take care of yourself, because enjoyment essentially is working on your mental health, right? I know it's a word that's thrown around a lot these days, but Nigeria was ranked as one of the happiest country. And when you think about just the sheer level of challenges that most Nigerians, apologies if you're not Nigerian on the call, but I'm just using Nigeria as a context. When you think about what most Nigerians go through, you'd question, how can we be the happiest, right? But we find a way. There's just this level of resilience within us as Nigerians where you always have a hope for something better. That's how we take care of our mental health. That's how we get out of those dark spaces. And enjoyment, the things that you do outside of work, are the things that help fuel the passion to deliver at work. If I wasn't having a good time outside of work, I will come into the workplace and make everybody else miserable. So it's in the company's best interest that I have a good time when I'm not working. I'm relaxed, my brain is relaxed, and everything about me is relaxed. And when I show up to work, I can then give my all. I don't
Thank
know,
you.
Oru, how do you relax, I guess, or how do you balance both?
Sure. So very, very similar. So I like going out, I like enjoyment, I like running, I like coffee. But for me, I think what has really helped me was a book I read ages ago. I can't remember this book now. It was Eat the Frog or something, or Habits of Highly Effective People. So my life is structured in a very simple way. I have 5 things I care about in priority. So first is family, and some friends have become family. And no matter what, there's always time for family. Then health. So I go running, or I go to the gym pretty much every day. Then career, then Arsenal, then friends. So those are the 5. That's pretty much my life. So it's very easy for me to be able to prioritize and figure out my time blocks. So if my family is good, there's nothing happening family-wise, I've gone to the gym in the morning, then okay, let's do it. I'm ready to work the entire day, right? Or work as long as I have to for during the weekdays. When is the weekends and work is out of the picture? Is Arsenal playing? I'm watching Arsenal, or going to the stadium, or are my friends going out? Are we hanging out? So it makes it very easy for me to be able to structure what I'm doing. Because what you find is there are lots of pressures. What you find is there are lots of pressures in general, and your work never stops. But you have to be able to take time off, right? So if you think, oh, work is everything for me, in consulting, I'm sure it's the exact same thing in JP Morgan. It's like, if you log in on Saturday in the middle of the night, something is in your email. So, right, like it's constant. So you can't let that be your driving motivation for every single thing. If not, family and relationships will suffer and your health will suffer. And if those two suffer for me, my career will suffer, right? So just having those priorities, and for everyone to be different. But those priorities that priority list makes structuring my time much easier for me. And yeah, and when I'm off, I'm off. So if I'm on holiday, I'm gonna take my work phone, I'm gonna take my laptop. I'm not one of those people. I'm off, I'm off. When I see you, I see you. I'm not a doctor, so it's fine.
Actually, I think, Ori, thank you so much. Becky, thank you so much. It's been said that Arsenal fans are very patient because of all that losing. So we can basically see that in you. I think, Akobi, take it away, please. Thank you.
Yes. So yeah, it's what you said. It's really important, not just focusing on work, but then your health, your every other area of your life. And you guys have achieved so much, top executives, you guys are doing so much, and you're young. But along the way, I believe that you encountered some disappointments, some failures in some kind of way. And so I want to know, how do you deal with disappointment? How do you deal with not being able to meet up with this, or this not going as planned? And also, if you were to advise someone that, let's say, they've been in the industry for a while, they're still junior level staff, and they're giving it their all, and how would you encourage them to stay motivated? Because you're talking about career management and self-motivation. How would you encourage them to stay motivated? And or permits me to say this, you're an Arsenal fan. It takes a lot of motivation to remain an Arsenal fan. I know that. So I mean, how would you advise someone on that? Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, let me go first. So there are 2 questions. How do I stay motivated? And remind me of the first question. First question is
How do you deal with disappointments?
How do I deal with disappointment? Right, exactly. So disappointment is interesting and it ties really closely to the second one. So someone shared, and this was just a friend, it wasn't a mentor or anything, shared a video with me ages ago, and it stuck with me on saying no. And I apply that to disappointment. So the video was, if I remember correctly, was Steve Jobs in 1991. He was giving a talk at MIT. It's really old clip. So if you go on YouTube, I'll be able to find it. And he's talking about, and Johnny Ive said something similar in a different interview on, I think it was in Variety, again on YouTube. And the idea is saying no is essential for you to be able to get to the promised land. right? So if you want to get something done, you have to be able to say no. And that seems pretty obvious. Oh, you say no all the time. No. Saying no is about saying no to things that you have really high conviction that you should be working on. So things that you really believe in and saying no. And you see this maybe in product management, you come to this kind of conclusion as well, that ruthlessly prioritizing. This is a really great thing that we should definitely be doing. But this is better. So I'm saying no to this really great thing that I really believe we should be doing right now. So when I encounter disappointments, the way I manage it is slightly unusual, but I just think about it as, okay, this is a no. What is the next thing that I should be doing? And this is not helpful for everyone. This is my own personal way of doing it. And considering people I've mentored before, so I'll give a more general example from what I've seen talking to younger people. Understanding your emotional energy or understanding your emotional reaction to things is really important. So some people, when they really give their all and something doesn't turn out the way you want it to turn out, they may feel really, really down. But if you understand that what I'm feeling right now is temporary and how you deal with it, how you manage it, some people have different ways of managing it. Personally, sometimes I go on a really long run. Let's say I'm working on a project imagine working on a project for 6 months and it turns out to not work the way you anticipated it to work. Of course, you'll be disappointed. If you say you haven't been disappointed, you haven't done anything that is risky enough or great enough. That's where I see it. Like if you do anything else and put yourself out there, you will get disappointment. But understanding your emotional states and how you react to things is really important. For everyone, it's slightly different. For me, again, I'm slightly unusual. I just say, you know what? This is a no. Let me move on. And I don't cry about spilled milk. I review it trust me, I review it in detail. Why did it go wrong? Should I have seen this earlier? What should I have done? All that, what they call postmortem in consulting, really looking at it like, why did this not turn out the way it should have turned out? But I kind of shut off the emotional aspect of it. Some people are far more emotional and there's no right or wrong answer. Just people are different. On the other question on motivation, I would say something really interesting. What I've noticed is consistency, personally, is better than motivation. So consistently showing up is better than me being super motivated today. And that is where I've tried to get to. So if you watch really, a good example is like Kobe Bryant, if you watch basketball, or Giannis, and if you watch basketball as well. When you are performing, you don't want to be too high, what they call too hot. You want to be too low. You want to maintain a steady state for a long period of time and be really consistent. Because if you try to spruce up and be really motivated today, that means in 2 days, when you're not motivated, you would not get anything done. So it's better for me to be consistent all the way through and just keep chipping away. If it's learning something new, like when I was trying to learn data science, I just set myself a simple target. I'm going to spend, I think it was an hour, 30 minutes every single day for a year doing data science. And that turns out to be, if you do the math, that is close to 500 hours of doing data science outside of work. And it's really not that difficult. Like once work ends, I have an hour, 30 minutes between 7 and 8:30. I could be on Netflix, I could be doing something ridiculous, but if I'm just going to put in that time, over a year's period, that is a lot of work I've learned. That's a lot of skill I've built up, a lot of pragmatic I've built up. So instead of being motivated, I would err on the side of being more consistent and just seeing things through. It's like going to the gym. First 10 days, you probably don't do anything. First 3 months, there's no change yet. But give it a year, 2 years, you start seeing the changes.
Thank you very much, Oro. And Becky, do you have anything to add?
So yeah, how do I deal with disappointments? Probably first things first, cry. Frankly, just it depends on the gravity of the disappointment, but generally just, go home and vent and cry. But once that's done, once you've let out all those emotions, however which way you find it best, then you need to figure out, how do I move on? And one of the key things that I do is I basically think about, what can I change? That's the next thing for me. Once I've cried, it frees up my space. Maybe cry listening to some sad music, but it frees up my mental capacity to then think about, what can I change? And it's almost done in a way where I will consider it to be theoretical. It's saying, okay, this disappointment has happened. Things haven't gone the way that I wanted it to go. So that door is closed. Now, how do I move forward? What can I change? What can I not change? But even before that, what I tend to do is understand, what are my fears. By losing out on an opportunity, the reason why you value that opportunity is because you think there's something in there for you. And by not getting access to that, you essentially realize, hey, I'm scared of being jobless if I don't respond to my boss's email so I think someone was saying something about them having to respond email at midnight, then you respond at 7 in the morning. Like, you basically use your sleeping hours to send a response. But it's, what am I scared of here? And then name those fears down. Be honest with yourself, right? Be honest with yourself on how important that disappointment is to you, and let it sit. That's completely fine. But then once you've named all your fears, like I said, figure out what you can change, what you cannot change. What you cannot change, just put it in a parking lot, is what we call it. When you start having discussions and someone brings up a point that doesn't add value to the discussion, you just say, let's put this in the parking lot. We'll come to it later. Put that in a parking lot, then figure out, of the things that you can change, what gives you the best value. If you implemented one of those things, where do you think that's going to get you to? And once you've done that, you start getting clarity into how you can pick yourself back up. Because with disappointment, you get this illusion, like it's like a black box. You're like, I can't see beyond into the future. I can't see anything. But once you figure out what is within your control, then you can start making progress towards finding something that works for you. And in terms of how do I stay self-motivated, my motivation is internal. I motivate myself. There's no amount of, NO means new opportunity, or, a no means, a no means, aspire to perspire. It doesn't motivate me. I would find a way to tell you why that new opportunity just doesn't make any sense. So for me, it has to come internally, which is why I spend a lot of my time sitting with myself and having those deep, uncomfortable conversations about what my fears and concerns are, and then working a way forward. And that's also how I get motivation. So motivation primarily comes from what I think is my purpose in life. I know that not everybody has that level of self-awareness where you can say, hey, my purpose in life is to be this. I'm not talking about the Christian purpose in life, or any of that stuff. I just mean you and yourself, that level of self-actualization that you want to get to, and what that means. For me, my self-motivation, the reason why I wake up every morning is because of what I think I've been called to do in the future. And so everything that I get into, every work opportunity, every new project that I work on, every new person that I speak to, in fact, even speaking to you all on this call today, adds value to my future self. And because it adds value to my future self, it adds value to what I think is my purpose in life. And in turn, it's like a cycle, it's cyclical, right? So I get motivated by getting more and more involved in things that add more and more value to what I think I want to do in the future. And quite frankly, that's how I stay motivated internally. Now, no man is an island, which means that I also have networks of people that support me. I have managers who have been supportive throughout my career, and they motivate me. There are times where I can't find the motivation for myself. I don't know if you've seen this meme where they say that there's this dog chasing a man and the man is running, but below the meme, it says, some days you find motivation, some days motivation finds you. Because if you know used to run, when the dog starts chasing you, you would find a way to run, okay? So some days I don't have that motivation for myself, but my network empowers me. They remind me of, what my dreams are. They remind me of the things that I stand to lose by, dropping the ball. They remind me of, what my passion is. They remind me of how far I've come. They remind me of other people who have faced similar challenges that I've faced. They remind me of challenges that I've faced myself or have forgotten about because it's over now. So in both cases, I find motivation from my support network. And I definitely say, get yourself a support network to get yourself people that you can talk to, get yourself people that, enforce and help you revalidate the essence of who you are, because sometimes it's not so easy to do that for yourself. So those are the ways that I manage disappointment and how I stay motivated.
Wow, thank you so much, Becky. Thank you so much, Oru. I'm literally learning so much. I think you have made very, very important points. Get yourself a support network, get yourself a support system, get people who understand what it is to be out there and hustling and bustling and also want to be on a yacht in Maldives. But yeah, thank you so much. So we're going to take questions now because we are looking at the time. So please, if you can raise up your hands, would answer some of your questions. I'm sure I see a lot of questions coming in the chat section, but we want to take them. So you can just raise up your hand so we can take the questions and we can unmute you and then you can speak to the speakers directly. So please just raise up your hands if you have any questions. If you don't, I think I have a couple here. So I'll just give 1 minute to everyone to just do that. And then I would read out this question that came in the comment section. I think someone asked, they said, what do you do when your line manager at your new place of work makes you feel incompetent and unqualified? And sometimes outrightly says you're not needed. So what do you do in that scenario? Maybe or you can take that.
It's an interesting conversation. So if you have a line manager, I'm trying to rephrase it. If you have a line manager that doesn't support you, doesn't believe in you, and you have problems with. So without being dogmatic and giving you a direct answer, I don't know the exact situation. What I would say is, when you're starting off your career, having the right manager in the first stage of a career is super important for how everything pans out, right? Because if you have a manager who champions you and allows you to learn and fail, you are going to grow exponentially quicker than someone who is a line manager that doesn't allow you to actually learn, fail, and actually improve. I don't want to tell someone who is living in Nigeria, given how tough Nigeria is, to outrightly quit your job and move on. If you feel personally that the situation isn't the best situation for you, move on, either within the company or to a different company, and try as much as possible to move on. At the end of the day, your career is yours, right? The company will exist as it exists. The line manager, if you try to get the line manager fired, you may succeed or you may not succeed. But at the end of the day, your career is yours to manage. I think this is really important for adults who are leaving university to realize. And at some point in your career, you realize this, that secondary school was structured, university was structured, even though they tell you it's your time, still structured. When you're in the workplace, your entire career, how you chart yourself through the world is up to you. So if you want to speak to your family, your support system, your network, want to speak to your mentors, you want to be able to make the right decision for you personally at the end of the day. And again, having a support system to be able to bounce ideas off, to be able to ask, is this the best situation for me right now? I can't be your mentor based on a single conversation, a single question. What I would advise you, if you think the situation is really toxic and you are not getting what you need to get from that work environment, find someone who is more experienced and have a conversation, ideally in a different department, so there's no conflict of interest. and you're finding somebody who is very like removed. If you're a spiritual person and you go to church, speak to your pastor. If you have your mom and dad's still around, speak to your parents to find their view on, and maybe take them away. Don't say it's you, so you can be more honest. Say, oh, I have a friend who's going through this. What do you think they should do? So you get an honest view and take it on from there.
Thank you so much, Oru. So Becky, we have a question for you, and the question goes, how do you manage rejection? I think that's a very important question because we have a lot of questions that surround that. So maybe you can give us some insight.
I think I almost, rejection, disappointment, one and the same in a way. Yeah. Maybe I didn't elaborate on it enough. But how you manage rejection is all a mindset thing, right? I think I already hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I said my motivation comes internally. So when I'm rejected, people say, oh, breakfast will be served. It will be served. So, and when you get rejected, you just honestly, you have to deal with how you feel. It's you. It's like your manager telling you you are not good enough. That's what we hear when we get rejected. I know someone on here, I think I saw someone typing something about, people work for a boss, not a company, and all these nice sayings. But if your boss says to you, I don't think you're great at doing X, Y, Z, everyone would say, okay, on the flip side, that means that you have a growth area to work on. But in the interim, because we are humans, you will feel bad, right? You'll be like, oh, I'm not good at this. You take it on as a you thing, right? You internalize it. You're like, it's me. I am the problem in this situation. I want problem always. And I seem to be getting problem always, But I think once you get past the emotions of the rejection, whether that's at work, whether that's like by family or people external to you, you then begin to redefine what your next options look like. And you go through what I talked about earlier in terms of naming your fears, figuring out what you can or cannot change, and then implementing on the things that you can change or trying to influence what you can change. But you are not Superman, neither are you Superwoman. I don't know the Nigerian version of Superman, Superwoman, but whatever they are, that's not you.
Mashallah.
And literally, and for me, that's how I deal with rejection, but it will take time. It will hurt in whatever form you receive it. It will not be pleasant. So just super be honest with yourself and then figure out a way from there.
Thank you so much, Becky. So we're going to take audio questions. I think Ruth has her hands up. So Ruth, please, I would unmute you. I'll ask you to unmute so you can ask your question quickly. Ruth, can you unmute? Yeah.
Thank you so much, Becky and Oru. So my question is about finding purpose and self-awareness, because I remember growing up as a child, I'm sure some other participants might agree with me that we wanted to be something, and then our parents wanted us to be something else, and then we ended up in school studying a course that we had no business with in the first place. So now, trying to secure a career path is like a lot of confusion. And then you have the gift of being multi-talented. So how do you manage discovering your real purpose or managing this seemingly multi-talents that you have? If my question is clear.
Thank you so much, Ruth. So I want Becky to answer that question. So Becky, please, can you throw some insight on that?
Yeah, it's a very tricky one. How do you find your purpose? I don't know if anyone read this book, The Purpose-Driven Life, Rick Warren. But essentially, when I was 16, during that time where I was also trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, I read the book, and one of the things it asked for me to do at the time was speak to my close friends and family and get their perspective on what I am good at. I had an idea on what I thought I was good at. So I actually reached out to Nonso's older sister because we were in the same class. I'm like, yo, what am I good at? She said, you're good at listening to people and their problems. I said, now, wow, is this counselor for me? Or what exactly am I supposed to do with this? But guess what? A lot of people in my circle were telling me I was good at listening to people's problems and coming up with solutions. It just so happened that I was listening to their problem, but the fundamental of it was my ability to solve problems, my ability to be optimistic about situations and find a way. If you don't know about the African honey badger, I would suggest you go on YouTube, an African honey badger. Just go type on YouTube, African honey badger doesn't give up, something like that. And I feel like I'm a honey badger, in the sense that when I want something, like I go for it. So to your question, Ruth, I would say, if you're trying to figure out what you want to do, what your purpose is in life, right? Particularly if you're multi-talented, you could go in multiple directions. I would say just have a genuine conversation with those who know you, right? No holds barred. Literally ask them, what do you think I'm great at? If you were to pick a skill set that they said, die today or call Ruth to do this one thing for you, right? What would it be? I'm not talking about being there. We're talking about your career here. So what would that be? Get a general consensus of how other people see you and how they see your strengths. And then I would say, secondly, think about the outcome that you want for your life, not the output. The output is money for most people. It's just, you want money, you want to live a good life, you want to buy a house in Banana Island. No, the outcome that you want for your life. What are the things that genuinely would make you happy? Is it being able to travel to another country? Is it being able to work remotely? Is it being able to set your own time and how you spend your time? Is it spending time with family? Is it just spending time with friends? Is it doing work that has a social impact to it? Do you want to be changing lives? Do you just want to be spending and stealing government money? Have those honest conversations with yourself on the outcome that you want for your life. Once again, outcome, not output, okay? And then that should help you shape what your core values are and then set you on a path towards identifying what would work for you. But Ruth, if you're multi-talented, and you can do so many things, you can have what I call a portfolio career. And a portfolio career simply means is what you call side hustle. But when you call what the different things that you do side hustle, you're diminishing the value of those things and how they add value to your job. Do you get what I mean? So realize, Ruth, go and check out what a portfolio career is, right? And then you could have a portfolio career. Portfolio careers are becoming more common. I work at JP Morgan. I'm the head of products there, but I'm talking to my friend at the moment about helping her scale her food business here in London. I'm also looking into the healthcare space in Nigeria and trying to work out how I can make drugs more accessible, affordable for the everyday Nigerian person. I'm also having conversations with my friend on helping him scale and build his credit company in Nigeria. I'm doing all of these. I'm putting myself in all of these multiple spaces. What do I know about food? Nothing. What do I know about credit? Nothing. What do I know about health? Am I a doctor? In fact, I didn't even get into medical school. But I have a portfolio of interest that I explore in different ways. So that would be my own stab at how potentially you could figure out what it is that you want to do, what your purpose is, and how you can find happiness in so doing.
Thank you so much, Becky. So we'll be taking another question. Gospel, your hands are up. So I'll just ask you to unmute. Sorry, Gospel, please can you unmute your microphone?
Okay, good morning, everyone. I think
Morning.
my question is directed to Mr. Horo. The question is, at the moment of your transition, how were you able to manage your workflow so as to meet with your company's work expectation? Because there's something about companies and work expectation, especially when you are just transitioning into something you've not done before. So how were you able to manage this?
Thank you for the question. I think that's a really good question. Um, Becky touched on it earlier about transitioning being painful. Transitioning is hard. Make no mistake about it. Because when you're in a period of transitioning, imagine you're working at 100% for one stream, one current job profile, trying to transition to another job profile. That transition period is almost like a merger. So you're going to be working most times twice as long, or if you're working 8 hours, just plan against working 12 hours to be able to transition effectively. That is the first bit. So that transition period is going to be hard. Secondly, and I think we touched on it a bit earlier, is being aware that you are going to fail when you start and being okay with it. If you don't want to fail, never transition. Stay in the exact same career for 25, 30 years. You slowly build up competence and really, really great at it until automation comes and pushes you aside. But if you want to transition, you have to be really, and again, I think this is a skill that is built over time, being able to be confident or comfortable with failing initially. And when I say fail initially, it doesn't mean don't put in your efforts. Put in as much effort as you potentially can. Try your best, but try your best knowing that you are not going to be as good as somebody who has been doing it for 5 years, even if you try your best, right? But that is still part of the transitioning journey. So transitioning to consulting, when I first joined, even though I was moving from risk, which was really close to consulting, the fact that there were differences meant for the first 2-3 months, I was working, and it was almost like a lateral move. I was working low at a level lower than I was operating in risk. So it was a risk for my career. Like, why would I move from a level where I'm managing teams to moving to being managed by someone else? But it was a risk I was willing to take because I wanted to move out of risk. I could have stayed in risk and went up the ladder. Wanted to make that move, knowing that initially I wouldn't have all the skills necessary to be able to manage a consulting project the way I was managing a risk project and managing a team in that respect. And finally, I think speaking, again, being vulnerable, just tying it back again to what Becky said, being vulnerable and building trust. When I transitioned, I was very probably undersold myself, because it's always good to undersell and overdeliver as a Nigerian. And say, oh, like, wow, I'm going to be really terrible at this. I don't know what I'm doing. In the background, I was learning as much as I could, looking up what people had done before. Then people expected me to be really, really bad. So when I turned up not so bad, like, oh, wow, maybe he's an all right guy. So that's how you want to go about it, as opposed to overselling. Because you're trying to transition, there might be a tendency to be like, oh, I'm really great at this, because you want them to accept you. But when you show up and you're not as great as you have sold, then it becomes a problem. That's just the few things I would think about. Just one, thinking about probably understanding and being vulnerable about your skills and what you can actually do. Understanding that's going to be difficult in the first instance. Probably going to have to do twice the amount of work. So you're working your day job at the same time you're trying to like level up in a completely different field. And lastly, just being really cognizant of the fact that there are different fields, right? So when you join, you wouldn't be as competent, and that is okay. You'll be a bit worse off than you were in the other field where you have built up skills over a period of time.
Thank you so much, Or. So I think, Becky, they're asking if you can drop your Instagram handle or your LinkedIn on the comment section. So please, maybe you can if you'd like. I would also like to announce that Becky will be leaving in 20 minutes. So we want to take all the questions to Becky quickly. I think she has another appointment that she has to be in by after 12. So please, if we can. And then I'll be taking... Yes, and then I'll be taking another question from Tony. So Tony, please, you can actually speak. Yeah.
Yeah, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
My question is, sorry, I don't know, maybe my question might not go with what you have been saying, but I think this is the place for me to get the answer of the question. It has been in my mind since. So the question now is, I want to ask if I have like many skills, like if I have like 3 skills, how do I manage them? Like, and I'm very good in that 3 skills. How do I manage them? Because sometimes even some people confuse about my skills, that my skills are too much. So I don't know how to manage them, please.
Becky, maybe you'd like to answer that question, please.
If you have many skills, I think it's what we talked about earlier. Again, multi-talented. You know, there's a song that comes to mind: "More talented, yes, more gifted," or something like that. I don't know. I'm not Yoruba, so I probably just butchered the whole thing. But if you have multiple skills, it goes back to the same portfolio career thing. Why are people confused about your skill set? What are you selling to people when you meet them, right? I didn't get the name of the person who asked, so apologies if I can't refer to you by your name. I would have loved to. But however, what are you telling people? So if you met me today, are you going to list out all the 20 things that you can do for me? In which case, I'll be super confused, right? Sometimes choice leads to inaction. You know, like how you walk into, you walk into everyday supermarket or a barn or whatever, and they have like Quaker oats from here, or let's use pasta, spaghetti from Dangote, spaghetti from this one, spaghetti. You don't know. You're just like, oh Lord, which one do I pick? Just too many choices. It's the same thing with your skill sets. You have too many skill sets, and if you're going about telling people, hey, I can do this, I can do that, I can do that, and the skill sets don't have any interdependencies, they don't link up to each other. If you say, hey, I'm a marketer, I'm also a product manager, I'm also a software developer, it's like, really? I want to hire the best person for the job. And sometimes the best person for the job is a specialist rather than a generalist. So are you coming across as someone who is just a generalist? You just know a little about everything and not much about one thing. In which case, you better be the CEO. If you're not the CEO, then find one thing and hone in on that, right? And then you can anchor all your other skill sets to part of the portfolio career and explore them in different ways with different people. It's the same way that you won't sell pasta in a petrol station. It doesn't belong there, right? You go to a grocery store, you go to a supermarket, that's where you find pasta. So be specific on what your skill sets are, right? Identify one, maybe that's the one that you want to pursue a formal career in, that's the one you want to build a life on. And then everything else, you know, you can then decide to make those part of your portfolio and then target them to the right people who are looking for those particular skill sets. You can tell those people as well, hey, by the way, I also do this other thing, but only because it relates back to what you're already offering to them. It's called cross-selling. Cross-sell your skill set where it makes sense. You know, if I'm hiring you to be a software developer, you're telling me, oh, by the way, I do cooking and cleaning. I'll be like, and so what? What do you want me to do about that? Like, how does this impact the mobile app I asked you to build or the website? Like, you know, but if you said to me, hey, I'm also doing graphics, I'm like, okay, cool. Like, maybe we could use your graphic skills for this. So be very specific with what your skill sets are. Figure out what you can cross-sell. Figure out what should be part of your portfolio as a career. And then I would say that's what I would do.
Thank you so much, Becky. Thank you so much. So we'll take another question from Raymond. Raymond, you can unmute yourself. Please. Raymond, please, is Raymond here?
Okay, thank you. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you, Raymond.
Okay, I have 2 things to talk about. I want to thank all the speakers. I have a question I think I posted it on the chat box earlier. If you have a superior at work who makes the work environment so toxic, let's say, for example, at every opportunity, he likes to talk down on you and even asking some weird questions like, maybe after asking you a question, because of your reaction, he will now ask you, do you want to resign? What do you do in that situation? That's one. Then secondly, concerning Becky talked about a career portfolio. Like my undergraduate, I read English. That was my first degree. Then when I started working, because of my skills as into ICT, I started working in the ed sector, so as the data guy. So from there, I was advised to, do something related to ed. And from there, I took another degree. Then I'm doing my master's in public health right now. I'm almost done. I'm doing my project on it. So I have a degree in English. I have something related to health. And currently, I'm doing something in data science. So like I have an insight from what you just talked about, like how do you merge all these things together? Like in where I'm working right now, I'm working as M&E. I'm the one in charge of the data and the likes. So I think all these things are like aligned to some extent.
Okay. So for the first question that you asked, I think Oru already answered that earlier, and where he talked about being able to reevaluate the situation and then, understand your choices. So I think we have already answered or talked about that first question. And then your next question about cross-selling your skills. So maybe I would let maybe Oru for 1 minute share maybe a little bit of insight on that, because I think Becky already did. So maybe for 1 minute, he could just summarize that. Yes.
Sure. So I'm not going to say anything much different to what Becky has already said. And I think it's really important to, again, kind of how Becky described it. There's a term in the industry called like a T-shaped career. So you have what you're a specialist in, you do a lot of projects, then you spread out over a period of time. The fact that you've done a bunch of things can mean the trunk of your T-shaped career may encapsulate everything you've already done. So if you talked about you have a degree in English and now you're doing data science in public health, what can that translate to? I really think about it. Something that I'm thinking about just on the top of it is, how do I spread concise information about public health data using English? So how do you talk about data in a way that a data scientist at the core probably wouldn't be able to, or somebody who just studied English probably wouldn't be able to, or somebody who knows public health wouldn't be able to merge those things together? So think about where that sits in and how you can use that to further your career. Or you pick one specific skill, which you think, okay, this is what I want to be doing full time, specialize on that, then over time, you spread out.
All right, thank you so much, Oru. I think the question has been answered. Thank you so much. So because Becky is going in a few minutes, she has actually decided to give us an extra 5 minutes. So we would just want to hurry up. I think I'll be taking questions that are particular to Becky, and then we'll be rounding up in 15, 20 minutes. So I'm just going to take a question from Russell. Russell, please, can you unmute your microphone?
All right. First of all, I want to use this opportunity to thank everyone for the privilege for this program. I really learned a lot, to be sincere with you. I would like to direct my question to Becky. I'm a multitask and a skill person. I have skills in various fields: computer engineering, ICT, programming, electrical engineering, and now as a renewable engineer as well. But I'm an entrepreneur. I am a CEO of my company. It's a limited liability company. So my worry is, will I be a master of all trades, jack of none, if I bring all these services under a product of my company as a CEO, which actually I've already highlighted under the services my company rendered? So will it be jack of all trade, master of none? So I would like to direct the question to Becky, please.
So correct me if I'm wrong. I think most of what you're talking about here is not multiple careers that are not interrelated. It sounds like you've got a company and you could be offering different types of engineering services. So
yes, please.
It sounds like you've got different products that your company is offering, and that's how a company should work, right? If you have different services, it's basically known as different product lines, essentially. So I don't think there's anything wrong in that. You're just simply offering services. Now, what I don't know is whether or not you are a one-man business. Are you a consultant? You are the consultant, you are the company, you are the consultant, you're the one doing absolutely all of these services. Or do you have a team around you that's supporting you to deliver the services in the different areas, renewable energy, engineering, this one or that one? Do you have a team around you that does that? It's a question back at you, by the way.
Okay, yes, I have staffs. I have teams that work around me.
Okay, so in that case, then I don't think you're a jack of all trade, master of none. You are the CEO of a company that provides interrelated services. And simply what's happening here is that you've got the right people, I hope, staffed in the different areas to make sure that they deliver and execute on the vision and the strategy of what the business wants to deliver in those specific areas. All you're doing as the CEO is you're the thread that pulls everything together, right? That's your role in the company. So sounds good to me. So long as you have people who are experts, and maybe not just experts, but people who can dive deep into the detail, but also be high enough to keep you aware of what's going on in those areas, and you can pass on that accountability to them, not just the responsibility, but the accountability to them as well. Then you should be fine. I don't know, Ora, what would you say? Because this sounds to me like a product.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Becky. I think, yeah, it's you have different products within one company. If you're doing something like engineering, but at the same time you were doing like fine arts, then it's a completely like, okay, what's the relationship here? And maybe like music, then it's like, oh, what's the relationship here? But if it's all engineering and different streams, I think that's pretty common. So that's not jack of all trades. You're the CEO, so that's your company. There's nothing strange about that.
Thank you so much, Becky and Ora, for answering that question. So I'll be taking two questions in general. That's the last two questions I'll be taking. So I'm going to unmute Ramat. So just let her speak. And then I'll take a question from her, and then I'll take one more question, and then we'll summarize today.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much. So my question goes to the speakers. I see they are young people and they are really doing well in their career. So my question is, why you are going forward in your career and then you are starting to go into a certain level. I see none of you mention like going back to get a master's, maybe like going to business school or something. Is it that once you've entered with your technical skill and you have a good soft skill, then you don't need to like go back to school? Because I just feel like for you to get to a certain position like the ED, you should have some kind of qualifications. So please, I need clarity on that part. Thank you.
Yeah, very interesting you say that. And the reason I laugh is actually because I did go back to school. So I just got my MBA from Imperial College in London. I wanted to go to Harvard. And then I was like, you know what? I'm not ready to go into debt. I'm not ready to quit my job for 2 years and study full time. So I found what worked for me. But you use the word should. You feel like we should do it. Maybe Oru can speak for this, but essentially here in the UK, what I find is that nobody really cares too much about your degree. Whether you have 2 masters or 10 masters, Like, can you do the job or can you not do the job? Your degree, once you've started your career, like most corporate careers would require that you have a BSc. So once you have a BSc, then you get into the door. Most people don't even have a master's. It's just not something that I find to be hugely popular in Europe. Now, in the United States of America, you come with your master's degree and even your PhD. Different worlds, different constructs, okay? Having said that, it's not a should thing. I know it's a very a heavy conversation in Nigeria. And I can understand why in Nigeria you may need to get your master's degree, right? The barrier to getting a job is so high. You post one job and you have 100,000 applicants because of the high level of unemployment in the country. So for people who are employers, they're trying to minimize the number of people they need to spend time reviewing CV, yada, yada. So they make the barrier to entry higher. So they have less applications, more qualified people, qualified by essentially just your ability to have completed a master's and a PhD and whatever. But the reason why I chose as an ED, I actually did my MBA before I became an ED. Well, the reason why I decided to do an MBA was, like I said, I come from a technical background. So I had been technical for so long. I had been an engineer for so long. All I knew to do was engineering. And I knew that for me to be CEO in the future, I needed to go just being an engineer that builds product. I need to be able to market the product. I need to be able to think about the financing of my company. I need to be able to think about building a team, about building and running an organization. You know, I need to be able to speak to investors. I need to think about like the legal like requirements for my businesses or the regulatory requirements. There was a whole lot that I needed to be able to do beyond just being one thing. If I wanted to run a company, I needed to figure out how to do that. Now, I had to also have a frank conversation with myself. I could have gone on Udemy or elearningonline.h whatever, or Harvard Online, because I see a lot of you during the pandemic. Everyone, Harvard Online, you go and put it on your LinkedIn. I completed the course in Harvard. But change your LinkedIn profile to Harvard, ex-Harvard, you know, you complete one Google certificate, ex-Google, ex-Amazon, you know, and all of this stuff. You take training, but perhaps you're still not getting the job because simply you haven't had the opportunity to implement it. The theory is very different from the practical is very different from the theory, right? So for me, I got the opportunity to implement everything that I had been learning on my MBA. I knew 100% what my gap was, skill-wise. That was what drove me to complete the MBA. I wasn't completing the MBA for the fanciness of it. Does it help having an MBA? 100%, right? You know, it helps when you show up to a room and they're like, oh, you've got an MBA, salary goes up by 100 grand. The site don't even have a conversation with me if you're not talking like really good numbers. So it does open opportunities for you, but also be very aware of the value that you're deriving from completing any additional degree above your BSc. If you're looking to leave Nigeria, by all means, be applying to the master's program because that's education is one of the ways that you get to social mobility, right? And you get to migrate into a new country and, you know, and live the life that you want to live. So if that's also your reason, if your reason is simply to leave Nigeria, master's degree is a good route.
Thank you so much, Becky. This is Japa way. Thank you. I think I'll take one more question and I'll take the question from, okay, let me have David. David, you can unmute your microphone.
Thank you. I want to thank the speakers and the organizers of this event. It's been an interesting time so far since the first day till now. So I just have a few questions for both speakers. Now, my first question is this. I see that from the moderator down to both speakers, they are into product management. Currently, I'm taking a professional course on product management. It's interesting, but then I'm still curious. I have migration plans, knowing that right here in Nigeria, the opportunities, they are very few. So I have plans to actually migrate, possibly practice when I leave. So what will be your counsel for me as to how to achieve this? And another thing is, I want to major on 3 aspects in career. This product management I'm pursuing. I'm into digital marketing, and then the course I read in school was environmental management and toxicology. So I'm actually looking at environmental education for Nigeria in the future. That would be like a side career kind of, but for income and to be able to actually pursue something worthwhile in life. I'm looking at majoring on digital marketing and product management, but definitely not in Nigeria, because the opportunity here for someone who does not have leg is very minimal. So what would be your counsel for me coming up in that line?
I think Ako, Uru, you can go first.
Okay. Sure. Thanks for the question, David. So as a product manager, right, and I've had these conversations with actually people in Nigeria and other places who are trying to transition. If you are not in a company that you can transition in at the moment and just taking courses, and maybe Becky will be able to talk about this a bit more, like given you're probably hiring product managers, what I found that is really valuable and useful is being able to have projects to demonstrate that you can actually be a product manager apart from taking the course. So what does that look like? Do you have any friends who are software engineers or designers who are kind of in the same level you are? They're just taking courses, they are learning. You can bring them together and be like, oh, actually, this is a problem I've scoped out. This is what I think the solution should be. This is the roadmap, that the features. Let's try to build this thing together. And because all of you are on the same level, all of you are adding that to your portfolio. On your portfolio is the fact that you can deal and manage with engineers. And this is a very, sorry, everyone who's not in tech, this is a very product management specific question, but you can manage engineers and you can deal with engineers, work with them, influence them. The same with designers. You can talk to customers and get the actual features that you think are the right features, all of that stuff be really valuable when you go to an interview. So apart from just reading the course, try to implement it. And you may not have to be a CEO to implement it. You may not have to have something that makes money, but go out there, find free resources that you can use to implement it. So you can use, couple together Microsoft Excel or Google Sheets and use simple tools to demonstrate that you can actually be a product manager. You said something else I thought was interesting to pick up on. You want to be a product manager and you're also interested in digital marketing. There's a nice cross-functional role that you should probably check up on. It's called product marketing manager. So that is a nice mix between product management and digital marketing. So maybe check that out and see if that is more in line with what you're thinking of, or you want to pursue them separately. So as well, just keep on doing your research. And the fact that you started taking courses is already a good sign. It's a really long journey to become an expert at anything. So doing one course doesn't mean you're an expert immediately because you've got one certificate, right? Keep trying, keep learning. There's so much out there to learn. So good luck on your journey. And yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Oru. This has been such an informative and insightful session. And we are gradually rounding up the 6th edition of the soft skills training. So to Becky and Oru, before we do our final roundup, I want to ask you guys if you have any closing remarks, anything you want to say to us, to the participants, anything.
So thank you so much for having me. You know, I haven't lived in Nigeria for coming up to like 13 years now. I miss you guys so much. But I miss you. If you've gone to follow me on Instagram, by the way, all I do is go out. So please, please, please don't come and be disturbing me. I can do with less stress in my life. It's an outlet to have a good time. If you follow me on LinkedIn, you'll probably find me sharing resources and articles on like career progression and just navigating the career space. But like I said, I fully 100%, 2000,000,000%. I'm very aware that, you know, I stand in a place of privilege and I speak from a place of privilege, right? You know, I'm not in Nigeria, and the challenges that I face here are completely different to the challenges that you face back home. But also some of you are in university, some of you are just graduating, you know, some of you want to leave the country. So I'm 100% aware of that. And I completely empathize with you, whatever decision you choose to stay or to leave. You know, you have my support either way. If you want to stay and build, 100%. If you want to leave and build your life elsewhere, I'm also happy for that. I hope that in some way, shape or form, whilst I haven't been fully embedded into the context of Nigeria, I try to keep up here and there, that I've been able to offer some like advice and career nuggets that you will find applicable regardless. If you have any more questions that I can help with, the best place is not my Instagram, because I will not be responding to anything that is not Soft Life 2022. On LinkedIn, just find me on LinkedIn, follow me on LinkedIn. And if you have any questions, I can help provide some more insight. I know people talked a lot more about like being multi-talented. And the concept of a portfolio career sounds like something that was coming out a lot. So if you want to ask me more questions about that or anything else, do find me on LinkedIn. I think the organizers have shared the LinkedIn profile, and I also typed down my LinkedIn profile. But it's been an absolute pleasure just being in a space with so many vibrant Nigerians. I'm super excited that you all took your Saturday morning to come sit on a Zoom call. Could not be me, you know, but I'm so happy to see that there's so many people who are committed to their careers. You're committed to being better. You're committed to doing better. You're committed to overcoming the obstacles that you have. And you're committed to admitting that you have areas that you would like to develop in. And that is super inspiring to me. You will see me one day in Nigeria doing something, whether it's setting up my own business or whether it's working for one of the big startups in Nigeria, but coming soon, come soon. But definitely I'm super motivated, super inspired to be here. It has been a fantastic time. I was meant to drop off at 12, but I sort of said, okay, cool, I'll stay for a few more minutes. Well, thank you so much. And if you need anything, over to my LinkedIn page.
Thank you very much, Becky. Or do you have any closing remarks for us?
So just echoing everything Becky said, thank you so much for taking your time out on Saturday morning. I know it's difficult, it's challenging, but it's really inspiring again to have so many people here. Well, 200 plus people, almost 300 people, dialing from not just Nigeria, but across Africa and across the world. Thanks to the moderators, thanks to Kfsd for putting this together. I think it's an amazing initiative. I wish I had something like this when I was starting out my career, able to like look at people who were just a few years down the line and be able to say, okay, what should I pick up, and people I could learn from. Again, I think the organizer put my LinkedIn in, so definitely add me on LinkedIn. I'll go out and add everyone up on LinkedIn. Apart from that, I think it's really inspiring that a community of you learning skills all throughout this week from different people from across the world. And I hope that this is just the start of a lot of cross collaboration between not just us in different parts of the world in the diaspora, but also internally between yourselves. Definitely share skills between yourselves, share learnings between yourselves. Like no person's an island, and there's no crabs in the barrel mentality of, oh, I must succeed, so everyone else must fail. I think everyone else has to work together to actually make a change. And if you're in Nigeria, and you want to stay in Nigeria, obviously stay in Nigeria and build life for yourself there. There's a lot of opportunities. There are great businesses being built. If you want to move out of Nigeria, again, I support you. Have any questions for me, ask me on LinkedIn. I think finally, I hope that what we've spoken about, I'm just conscious that a lot of us work in tech. If you work in a different sector, if you work in hardware engineering, work in civil engineering, you work in medicine, law, whatever it is you work in, I hope that what we've shared is also useful and applicable across those different domains. And there are actually general techniques you can use to think about your own careers, about motivation, about balancing I took a new term, your portfolio career, and don't say side hustle, guys. Side hustle diminishes what you're doing. So I'll be taking that going forward. But yeah, thank you so much for taking your time. I appreciate it. It's an honor to be here. So thank you.
Thank you. So before we finally close, we need to take a group photograph, e-photograph. So everybody put on your video and put on your best smile. Everybody, your video, please. And your best smile. We're about to take a photograph. Are we ready? In 3, 2, 1. Cheese. Are we good? Tech team, are we good? Thank you. Thank you. So we just want to say a really big thank you to Becky, to Oru, to all our participants that are here. And this is the very first time actually that we're having a panel discussion in the history of soft skills training. And it has been wonderful and exciting and very insightful. So we just want to say a really big thank you. So I think everyone can unmute their mics, and thank you, Kfsd. Thank you, Kaiser Foundation. Thank you, Becky. Thank you, Oro. Everybody can, say our thank yous. The comment section is thank you so much. Big thank you to the organizers. Thank you, everyone. And I don't know if IG or Jamila has something they want to say before we round up. I know we have to have music to dance out from the 6th edition.
No, this is your deal. Leave me out of it. I've made my comments already. So enjoy yourselves, millennials and Gen Zs. Enjoy. Have a nice weekend. See you again.
I think before we go, I think maybe Jamila has something to say quickly. Okay, Jamila, are you here? Oh, I think she's gone. Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone. Please don't forget to like and follow us on our social media pages, and don't forget to comment and tell us about how impactful this session has been for you. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.